Okay, so today we're going to work on drawing fabric, and we're going to think of it in terms of something that has peaks and valleys, okay? Now you're going to start by taping off your paper, and we're going to start from a blank sheet. You're going to need your vine charcoal, kneaded eraser, compressed charcoal, chamois or fabric, hard eraser, and as always, something to measure with. The measuring sticks will work, a pencil will work as well. Now we're working additively, which means we're entirely adding material. So we're not going to start by toning our paper today, but we are going to start, as always, by doing our rule of 3 grid, okay? Now when I'm working on drawing, I want to remember to hit my points of interest for composition. Now I'm going to break my vine charcoal into really tiny pieces, okay? Because what I'm trying to do is combat our drive to draw with it like it's a pencil and only use the tip, and instead use it kind of in a chisel or a gestured motion. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some little marks for where what I'm going to call my peaks are, okay? Now, peaks are the point of the fabric, okay? And then I'm going to think of the valleys as where the fabric drapes, okay? Now, instead of finding rectangles or circles, we're going to focus on finding triangular shapes, okay? So, and you can see I'm using the side of my tool and I'm moving my whole arm, okay? And I'm drawing through my shapes. By drawing through, I mean I'm carrying this line through even though there's another object right here. Now you see what I mean when I'm talking about peaks, right here, peaks versus valley shape. It's got a very landscape feel to it. Now something that we have a really hard time with is we keep leaving our grid showing, and I don't want us to do that anymore, okay? So I want you to keep that in mind as we're working, all right? Erase out. Now, my chair has small ellipses for where this is hitting the fabric, okay? And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my utensil, right? And I'm gonna start trying to find the folds in my fabric, okay? And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start up at the top, and I'm going to turn my tool and make one gestural mark to get this shape, okay? You're gonna see it. Watch carefully as I turn my hand, okay? See, I'm going to turn my hand, right? And then I can go back in and really darken where that fold is, okay? I'm gonna do the same thing. There's another piece of fabric and it comes up. And then there's a little edge here. And I know I'm outlining a bit, right? But I'm changing my line width so that even when I'm outlining, it's staying dynamic, okay? That's important for this. I'm gonna keep my eraser. So that I can make sure that I create a clean edge here, all right? So for me, right now, to give you an idea, my fabric is coming up, down, right? Does that make sense? But I want you to carefully look at your folds because I don't want you to just sit and draw fabric by going okay? If we see this repetitive S shape where every single fold is the same shape, then I know that you're drawing what you think you see versus what you actually see, okay? Every fold is going to be different. So you need to carefully look, and you need to use the side of your utensil, okay? So for example, I've got a great moment right here where there's a shape and I let it taper out, right? Do you see what I'm talking about when I'm talking about dynamic line? It's a line where the width is expanding and contracting. That way it looks kind of like a brush mark almost, okay? Same thing down here. The shape is a little looser. But I want you to see how I'm using my tool and the side of it to make brush marks. And I'm drawing right over this shape, even though I can erase it right back out, okay? And I'm carefully measuring the whole time, even if you don't see my other hand, right? Which has my utensil, and I'm checking my angles, okay? I'm gonna let that go right off the page. And then there's a little bit of an edge, right? But you see how I'm slowly working this up? And now I'm gonna ask myself things like about my background, okay? So that I can create an edge here. I'm going to make some big decisions, right? I start filling in space very quickly. Now, this is a complicated area in my drawing because the fabric comes here and it comes back up. So it's gonna take a lot more careful looking for me. You're gonna have moments like that, okay? So what I'm doing is, again, I'm thinking of these objects right here as shapes. And instead of trying to sit and outline each shape and then color it in using the point of my utensil, I'm gonna just keep reiterating this. I know it gets a little redundant, right? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use my tool to start creating value marks. And notice that I'm not moving my wrist a lot, I'm moving my whole arm. That's what's really helping me to build this object up in space, okay? And create dynamic lines. I'm really building my value as I go, right? Starting to find my gradients and show where my light source is, okay? Now I'm gonna focus on this one. I don't have this ellipse exactly right. I'm noticing that now. So I'm going to adjust that. I'm gonna go ahead and make some even more adjustments. Like if that wasn't right, then this line's not right, all right? See how confident I am with pulling my eraser out of here? But I like this one. Now this is a line, like this is still a line. It's just different from using the point of my utensil versus the side of my utensil. Do you see what a difference that makes? And that's the great thing about charcoal, right? That's the difference. The entire tool makes a mark versus a pencil, where only the tip makes a mark. But I'm dragging dragging my shape. Ooh, see, I'm breaking my charcoal, but that's okay because I'm still just using a small portion of it. I got really, my accent started to show there. You see, I'm working very slowly, and everything's just triangles. It's just triangles, right? I know that's like hard to believe, but all I'm doing is making a triangular shape by turning my tool instead of filling it in, okay? Again, redundant, but I'm gonna keep saying it. Now, I wanna create an edge here without using an outline, and this is something we're still struggling with. So I'm gonna show you real quick. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my utensil, right, and I'm gonna use the side of it. I'm gonna do this left-handed so you can see better. And I'm gonna kind of trace the edge of this. I'm at the edge of my ellipse, and mine's a little lumpier over here. And now I'm gonna leave a little white edge here, but then I'm gonna come up. See, I'm leaving a little white edge. Bam. Look at that. I created 2 whole edges of an object using one gesture with my non-dominant hand by pushing my whole utensil. And now, I can even blend this out, right? Because this is my background and I'm just making some decisions to build up my whole drawing together, okay? I'm gonna keep working on this, all right? Got some more triangular shapes. Now you can see there are parts where I'm leaving a really hard outline. Like that is a hard line, right? But what I'm not gonna do is take my tool and do that, okay? That's what we keep doing, all right? We don't want it, it's not necessary. I've already established an edge here. And if you do accidentally create an outline, look at what I'm doing. I'm going back over it with my vine charcoal and I'm blending it out so that I don't have that really unnecessary harsh line, okay? Now, I've probably gotten as far as I can get with my vine charcoal to start. And you can see everything is very textural, which is okay. You can leave your drawing very textural. If it's not something you're into, what you can do is you can go in and you can just blend really gently, okay? Notice that I'm working in circles. We've talked about this. What I'm trying to do is alter the surface of my paper. But when I do this, right, and when I blend, my value goes down. So you don't just stop at blending. You make sure you still have your utensil and you go back in with that charcoal. And see how I'm not outlining, but what I'm doing is I'm working it in tiny circles and I'm really trying to darken that area again. And it's just a lot of back and forth, okay? See what that does for my value? okay? Because sometimes we get in this bubble of like blendy, blendy, blendy is good, but then we lose our full range of value. So I'm gonna work this up a little bit. I'm taking my chamois, and again, you do not have to blend out all your shapes. I am okay if it stays textural as long as it stays completed, okay? I'm blending mine because this seems to be our preference for working, so I want to show you how it works. All right. Notice how I'm turning my paper towel the way I turn my other tools. And there are some shapes that I'm not gonna go over. Like I don't wanna blend that one out. That's really crispy and crunchy the way it is. And I like my crunchy edges, okay? But again, you go back over, right? Because you don't wanna lose your value by blending, blending, blending. And then if I hit areas like this where I get really blendy and foggy, once again, your gut instinct is gonna be to draw a line. Nope, not necessary, okay? What I need to do is create an edge. So I'm gonna use my eraser, okay? I already created a little bit too harsh of an outline there. So I'm going to blend, blend, blend. I'm gonna take my charcoal. I'm gonna start shading this area back in to make sure it's really dark. And you see how what I'm doing is I'm reestablishing that space, but I'm not outlining it, right? We are beyond outlining. Now, compressed. Again, I've seen it. I've seen you do this a few times. I'm going to do an example of what not to do right here. You come in, and we start doing that. No hard outlines with this, all right? Break it up. See that? Look at how I'm working it in tiny. I'm gonna show us what I like down here, okay? So this is no, this is what we wanna do. I'm gonna take my compressed and using the edges of it, I'm gonna create my darkest dark, and at the same time, I'm gonna establish a very clean, crunchy edge of fabric, okay? Now, you can see, you hear it, right? You hear that swooshing sound? That's me pressing a lot lighter. Here, I'm grinding it into the surface. Here, I'm being a little loose. I'm gonna take my vine charcoal. And now I'm gonna work in tiny circles over my compressed. Because what I'm doing is I'm using my vine charcoal to blend that out. I can take my chamois, I can take my piece of fabric. See, now I got a little bit away from myself up there. So I'm gonna take my kneaded. I'm gonna look carefully. I'm gonna carve some of this space back out, okay? that's what I'm doing. And look at that edge there. That is as outlined as these objects are. But what I did to create that edge was I used my contrast. And even though there's a gradient here, there's a line the whole way up, okay? Same thing on this side. Our gut instinct is to take our our compressed charcoal and we're gonna just, boom, make a big old line, right? No, I know I want this to be my darkest area. So, lots of charcoal all over the place. It's gonna get messy, all right? Remember, it's gonna get messy. Got my my bind charcoal. I'm gonna work back over this. Circles or swipes. I'm swiping, I'm not making circles, so do as I say, not as I do. Okay, now I'm making circles. Circles, woohoo. And I'm gonna let that blend out. Got my chamois, which is really my paper towels. Now, again, got a little crazy. Lost myself up there, right? So I'm gonna take my eraser. I'm gonna carve that space back out so that I don't lose it, okay? And look, I can turn my eraser the same way I turn my charcoal. Okay, same thing down here. And then I can even see where my folds start coming over. Okay, so that's how we're gonna build up our drawing, all right? Completely additive. I want you to push your full range of value, at least 5 shades, okay? Your darkest dark, your lightest light, which is the light of your paper, and then the full gradient to show your mid grays, light grays, dark grays, okay? I wanna see dynamic lines and shapes. I do not want to see outlines, okay? And always carefully measure. Also, resolve this background while we work up, okay? All right, I think that's where we're at. You do need to work your drawing beyond this point. I'm gonna work my drawing a little bit more so that you can see a finished photo, okay? Again, spend 3 hours on your drawing, all right? Start to finish. Set up your fabric, really work on your composition, get rid of that grid, submit a completed drawing, okay? Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you this week.